Hi there, people. So, I'm not sharing anything about the tarot today. I'm going to just share a little bit more information about healing in general. So, this is my point of view and this is my perspective. You can take it if it serves you. If it doesn't serve you, don't fight it. Just go with any part of it that might help you in some way or another. So, the whole holistic view of healing is very kind of accepted in the new age world these days, and yet some people still have doubts or misunderstandings about the whole story. When I look at and talk about healing, for me, it has and is part of a journey of self-awareness. It's part of a journey of getting to love yourself more, feeling more complete in who we are, learning the wholeness of who we can be in our lives. And this process of growing and learning and self-consciousness and becoming more whole is where the origins of the word health comes from, in the Greek origins anyway, to be whole. And this is, the basis of my idea of what health is about. The story is that there are so many different aspects to being healthy, and there are so many different ways to look at it, as from physical health and mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. It's all we can see. The holistic view can touch us on all different levels, and my personal perspective is that every one of these levels is connected. We would love to imagine that our physical body isn't affected by our thoughts, even though most of our thoughts are completely unconscious. We'd love to imagine that the beliefs that we hold somewhere locked away in our unconscious selves do not affect the way our physical bodies exist or what they manifest in the form of balances and imbalances on a day-to-day basis, but they do. And this is kind of scientifically proven now that that the hormonal levels and the brain cortex and the heart and is continuously sending different messages and stress messages out there into the body, releasing different. There's the obvious sort of adrenaline and cortisone that create these stress levels and create strong inflammation in our body, and these are the ones that are easier to be measured and seen as issues to our own personal health. But it's much more in depth and much more connected to every hormonal change in your body and every micro chemical that the body releases and produces in order to cause slightly different molecular and cellular activity inside of ourselves. The details of this, I don't know. To be honest, I don't really care to know that much in detail. I know I feel I know enough about the basics in order to make it real for me. And as I said, this is just my opinion, and it's something that I have shared over the years and thought is important to share. Because when we think about healing, we think normally about the healing of our physical bodies, and we think about getting sick and having our physical bodies be ill, and then doing something in order to change our way of being, change our life in some way or shape or form, maybe eating something different, exercising a little bit more, or just taking some chemical and throwing some pills into our body in order to readdress or recorrect the imbalance that our body might be experiencing. And this is kind of the typical way we look at illness. There are other serious illnesses that require more deeper interventions and deeper chemical treatments, and there are others that we like to treat on a more holistic or a more natural basis, and we might just look at working on ourselves and changing our habits, changing the way and the type of food that we eat and the type of activities that we do in our lives in order to create a more healthy, holistic lifestyle. Everything that takes place in the body is connected to, aligned with some type of idea, some type of belief pattern, some type of vibration. We're just a bunch of manifest vibrations in this physical form. These vibrations that have become a part of our conditioned self or identity have begun at the moment of our conception, if you want to look at it on a physical state, on a physical level, and in our genetics is a certain makeup that is going to dictate to some or lesser degree who we become physically from that very moment. And then there's all the conditionings of our childhood as we grow up, and the lessons that we learn or don't learn, and the experiences that we gain, and the habits that we learn as we grow up to be, adult human beings. And then all of this process is a process of manifesting and creating who we experience ourselves to be right here, right now. And we can see that everything that your body is as a perfect manifestation of the beliefs that you choose to believe in, or are conditioned to believe in, or are programmed to believe in. Whether you are aware of these beliefs or not, they're all there in the background of your psyche, whirring away like the hidden messages of the computer that we don't really understand. And we just see the body like we see the computer screen, which is kind of like the end result of everything that we have been conditioned and taught and programmed to be. And this is the emotional self that we are, the spiritual self, the mental self. We're all one being. It's just these different levels of consciousness can be seen as being different levels of vibration of the same us. And the physical one is the one we experience through our five senses. It's the one we can look at in the mirror. It's the one that has all these material sensations and we relate to most in this physical world. We also relate to our ideas and our beliefs, and we relate to our emotions and everything that flows with them, but they're a little less tangible. They're a little invisible for us, and so they're more difficult for us to relate to. We'll relate to being right, and we'll have all of our ideas about what right is. We'll relate to feeling sad sometimes and feeling happy at other times, and we'll say, hey, I am happy, I am sad, and this is who we become in that moment. But these are emotional states that come and go. The physical body is something that's more reliable, it's fixed, it's there. That's definitely who I am, and every time we wake up in the morning, that's who we feel that we are. And with our first conscious breath in the morning, that conscious breath is automatically, I am this body, and this becomes who we relate to most of all. The thing is, when something goes a little bit it gets a little bit unbalanced in our body, when we feel that our body is not feeling great, when we are becoming sick or ill and we are experiencing a level of discomfort on a physical level inside of us, then we normally look to physical solutions to sort out these problems, and we don't understand that what our body is doing and how our body is acting is absolutely perfect and in alignment and in accordance with the vibrations that we're holding on to on emotional and mental levels inside of us. And we don't see these experiences as being perfect at all, because they are usually uncomfortable, and we don't see any uncomfortable experience as being perfect at all, whether it's an emotionally uncomfortable experience or a confused mental experience. We don't enjoy, and we haven't been taught to accept these types of experiences as being ones that we can say yes to. Now, we say no to these experiences, and we try and avoid them at all costs, and we try and avoid illnesses at all costs. Illness has this indoctrinated idea in our psyche that it will lead to death and the death of you, and that's the scariest thing of all, because we are taught that death is the wrong thing and it's the thing to avoid at all time, and we don't know what happens after death, so the unknown is even scarier than ever. And as human beings, we have this allergy to death, when in reality death is one of the sisters of creative transformation. In order for things to change and move and grow, you need death. You need something to die in order for all the pieces to get destroyed and break up, and then they can be broken up and assimilated in their small parts and made back into something creative. This is the way, dead trees will rot, and they'll feed the soil and create an abundant amount of life in the soil that will then be the rich nutrients that the next younger trees will suck up and eat. And this is a cycle that's taking place in our bodies. It's a cycle that's taking place in nature. and yet we fight this dying aspect of ourselves. We fight this part of our life because we have been taught that death is a scary and a bad and a wrong thing. And this is a very hard idea and a very difficult belief to change. This is why we're running around more paranoid of death, and we become, it becomes very difficult to enjoy our lives when we're running around afraid all the time. And so this allergy to death is one of the beliefs that sooner or later we're going to have to encounter. And I believe that maybe all of this 2020 coronavirus thing is putting people face to face with their fears, putting people face to face with what they might most feel allergic to, and this idea of, no, I don't want to die, and there's a lot of that going on, and people's fears are becoming seen more, are becoming present more, and it allows people to be a little bit manipulated too when people are sitting inside of this flight or fight mentality and vibration and emotional space. So I'm just going to end this little talk today. Maybe I'll continue another day, get into a few more details, but I just wanted to share a little bit that everything that takes place in our body, everything that our physical body manifests in one way is actually more perfect than we allow ourselves to believe. And this is really difficult to say. It's when we see a loved one dying or when we see somebody suffering, and very difficult to see that and imagine it as perfect, and it seems quite cold and uncompassionate to talk about illness as being a perfect thing. But and I know I've suffered from more than my fair share of illnesses, and I know that in the moment of being sick and being ill, it's the hardest thing to sit with. It's the hardest thing to be able to embrace and to own, and to say, okay, I own my illness, I own my, I take responsibility for who I am and what I've created. It's very difficult to say that. It's much easier to put the blame on something else out there in the world, and I'm not really fighting those people who do that, and I don't want to say they're wrong, because it's not wrong to believe that. If that's where you are, it's just fine. I am just sharing the idea that maybe if we can take responsibility for more of our illnesses, we can actually own our ability to transform what that illness is coming from. And for me, healing is about a change and a transformation, but it's not just a transformation of what you might do and what you might eat in your life, or what what medicine you might have to ingest in order to heal yourself. For me, it's a change of what you think and how you believe, and it's a change of the structure and the patterns of your mind and your emotional states that you have habitually been conditioned to buy into, and that you are consciously or unconsciously addicted to, and yet do not serve you as a human being in some way, shape or form. It's those beliefs, the beliefs of I'm not good enough, the belief of I'm unworthy, the belief is that I'm separate from everybody else, the belief that it's really important to be afraid that I can't be loved, that I don't deserve to love anybody else either. It's these type of beliefs that are the fundamental ideas behind a lot of the physical illnesses that we may manifest in our life. And if we own those physical illnesses and maybe open our minds a little bit, I do believe that there's a possibility to create a more powerful healing experience for people who are interested to go down maybe a slightly alternative route. And I'm not saying that chemicals and pharmaceutical stuff and doctors' intervention is not important, because it really is important, and we need some physical healing when the disturbance or the imbalance of our minds and it has arrived in our physical body and manifested in some physical form. We'll also need to change something physically, but I believe that the healing will be more complete if we allow ourselves to open up to the possibility that we can also change ourselves mentally, and we can change what we might believe in, and we can, if we focus a little bit more there, I believe that the healing that we'll experience is going to be something that's longer lasting. It's going to be something that's deeper. It's going to be something that's more transformational, more amazing, more beautiful. And this is the ideas that I promote. Anyway, a little bit more on this another day. I wish you all a fantastic time, and if this relates to you, make a few comments below. If you can tap on like if you like this video, fantastic, because that'll just share it a little bit amongst the algorithms a little bit. I'd love to hear what your ideas and comments are about this. This is just something that I've been sharing for a while now, and feel a little bit passionate towards. Okay, all the best, and I'll see you another time.